When you stop being useful, fake friends stop pretending you're hard to replace. They do not miss your presence. They miss your access, patience, silence, and loyalty. That shift hurts because you thought the closeness was mutual, not conditional. You replay every conversation, wondering when friendship became something you had to earn. And the worst part is how normal they acted while benefiting from you. They laughed with you, leaned on you, called you family, then resented your first boundary. So this is not about losing friends. It's about recognizing users wearing friendly faces. And by the end, you'll hear their backlash differently and stop blaming yourself. Because fake friends rarely reveal themselves while you're giving. They reveal themselves when you slow down. I know that confusion too well, because fake friendship almost always breaks your trust quietly. It doesn't start with betrayal that looks dramatic. It starts with little discomforts you dismiss. The joke that cuts too deep, the favor that somehow becomes your permanent role. The call they only make when they need advice, money, time, or cover. The way they disappear when you're hurting, then return cheerful when they need something. You explain that away because you have empathy. You thought inconsistency meant stress, not intention. But users love kind people because kindness gives them room to take without confessing. And the second you stop offering that room, their mask starts slipping fast. First, they rewrite your boundary as a personality flaw instead of a reasonable limit. You said, "I can't answer calls late anymore," and suddenly you're cold, distant, selfish, changed. You said, "I'm not lending money again," and now you're acting weird for no reason. Notice what happened there. They didn't respond to your limit, they attacked your identity. Because if they can make you defend who you are, they avoid discussing what they did. And once you're explaining your heart, they're safe from answering for their behavior. That is why over-explaining keeps you trapped. It gives manipulators extra material. Every long explanation becomes evidence they can twist, quote, badly and use against you. They don't need the truth. They need enough words to rearrange the story. So when a fake friend says, "Wow, you've changed," hear the translation clearly. It usually means you stopped being convenient and now I can't control the rhythm. Second, they test whether your boundary is real or just a temporary mood. Fake friends respect speeches less than patterns. They watch what happens after your no. If you say no, then fold after guilt. They learned your boundary has rent. If you say, "maybe later," after they pressure you, they learn persistence still works. That's why a simple sentence can protect you better than an emotional essay. "That doesn't work for me. My answer is the same. I'm not discussing this." Short phrases feel rude only because you were trained to make other people comfortable first. Healthy friends might feel disappointed, but they can survive disappointment without punishing you. Toxic ones act injured because your limit exposes the access they thought was guaranteed. That difference matters. A healthy person hears a boundary. A user hears a door closing. Third, they start collecting sympathy the moment control stops working in private. This is when you become difficult in stories told conveniently without context. They tell mutual friends you're distant now, moody lately, sensitive, ungrateful, impossible to reach. They leave out the money you covered, the crises you handled, the disrespect you tolerated. Smear campaigns aren't always dramatic character assassinations. Sometimes they're soft little doubts placed strategically. Just enough to make people question you before they ever ask your side. Why do fake friends do that? Because image control begins when private control fails. If they cannot manage you directly, they try managing how others interpret your distance. And that part hits hard because you were never trying to start a war. You were trying to stop being consumed. They frame survival as betrayal because it suited them. Here's where many people panic and make things worse. They rush to clear their name. They send long messages, screenshots, explanations, voice notes, hoping truth will defeat performance. Sometimes that helps. Usually it feeds the drama machine and keeps you emotionally hooked. Not every lie deserves your courtroom energy. Not every audience deserves your testimony. Some people were never confused. They were just comfortable benefiting from the fake version. The version who absorbs disrespect, explains forever, and keeps showing up after being drained. Fourth, fake friends often punish you with silence, distance, or selective coldness. And this part is sneaky, because silence can look mature from the outside. But silence is not automatically healthy. Intent decides whether it's peace or punishment. Healthy distance gives space without baiting you. Manipulative distance starves you until you chase. They suddenly take hours to reply, then post happily elsewhere, hoping you notice. They want the ache of exclusion to push you back into compliance. And if you reach out anxiously, apologizing for boundaries they hated, the lesson lands. They learn you can still be trained through withdrawal, not just guilt. So here's a nonverbal weapon people underestimate. Do not rescue the silence. Let the pause expose who is using discomfort to make you crawl back. Keep your tone flat. Keep your words short. Let their reaction belong to them. Fifth, they come back cheerful once they think enough time has blurred the pattern. No apology, no ownership, just a casual message like the disrespect expired naturally. Hey stranger, miss you, we should catch up, as if nothing actually happened. This isn't always reconciliation. Sometimes it's a temperature check for your boundaries. They want to see whether access has reopened without accountability costing them anything. And if you respond like old times, the old dynamic returns faster than ever. That is why one calm sentence can save you months of emotional confusion. Good to hear from you. Now I'm keeping some distance right now, though. Or even simpler, not this time. Then stop filling the silence with comfort. 6. They bait you with nostalgia because memory is easier to manipulate than evidence. They remind you of old laughs, old trips, old secrets, old versions of closeness. And suddenly you feel guilty for protecting yourself, as if history cancels patterns. But a long history of being used is not proof of loyalty. Sometimes the longest friendships survive because one person keeps swallowing what should have ended. And that realization is brutal, because you weren't building trust alone either. You were building usefulness, and they confused your availability with emotional permission. 7th, they often escalate after they realize kindness will no longer reopen the door. This is where the fake friend becomes sarcastic, mocking, cruel, or weirdly competitive. They bring up your insecurities jokingly. They downplay your wins. They act colder around others. Why? Because losing access bruised their ego, and ego often searches for revenge. They may not want your friendship back. They may want your confidence lowered. That way, if they return, you greet them from weakness instead of clarity. This is why protecting your peace sometimes looks like being misunderstood for a while. A fake friend hates the version of you that no longer negotiates basic respect. And if they call you dramatic, remember that drama is often what control feels like, ending. Let's make this practical, because insight without language still leaves you exposed in real moments. When they push for personal details after losing your trust, say less than feels natural. You do not owe curiosity access. Interest is not the same as care. If they ask, "What's going on with you lately?" try this instead. "I'm keeping some things private right now, but I appreciate you checking in." If they keep digging, say, "I'm not getting into that," and leave it there. No apology attached, no nervous laugh, no extra paragraph to prove you're still nice. Because fake friends often treat explanations as invitations, not answers. Boundaries need closure, not decoration. Here's another real scene. You stop being the free therapist in the friendship. They used to dump every crisis on you, then disappear when you needed support. Now, when they call, you answer less, or say you're unavailable tonight. Suddenly, they accuse you of being different, distant, too busy, too important now. But what changed was not your heart. What changed was your unpaid labor. They miss emotional access more than actual connection. That's why the tone changes first. Or maybe the fake friend always kept score quietly and weaponized generosity later. They bought you lunch twice, gave a ride once, listened during one breakup. Then the first time you disappoint them, they cash in every receipt emotionally. That's not generosity. That's investment with hidden terms and interest attached later. Real friendship gives freely, then speaks directly if something feels uneven or hurtful. Fake friendship gives strategically, then collects emotional debt you never agreed to owe. And once you see that pattern, guilt starts losing its hypnotic power. Another thing fake friends do is recruit confusion through mixed signals and partial kindness. They'll compliment you warmly, then insult you lightly, then ask a favor the same day. That emotional whiplash keeps you off balance, always trying to read the room. And people who are off balance are easier to manage, easier to guilt, easier to silence. So if someone leaves you constantly guessing, stop romanticizing the connection as complicated. Clarity is not too much to ask from a real friend, ever. Confusion is expensive. It trains your instincts and makes obvious disrespect feel debatable. Now here's the part most people miss, and it changes everything fast. Fake friends do not always want your time, money, or emotional labor only. Sometimes they want the identity they got to wear standing beside you. the supportive one, the funny one, the loyal one, the needed one. When you pull back, they lose more than benefits. They lose the mirror flattering them. That is why some fake friends seem oddly offended by your healing. Your healing ends the version of you that made their behavior easy to hide. Your calm becomes evidence that their chaos was never your natural home. And people who benefited from your confusion rarely celebrate your clarity openly. So let's ground this in one more example you can actually use. A friend invites you out only when they need a ride, introductions, or money. The minute you decline twice, their warmth drops and their sarcasm suddenly appears. They act like you're arrogant now, even though you were just unavailable. Here is the translation. Your usefulness ended, so they had to reveal their entitlement. A real friend might ask if something changed. A fake one assumes access was owed. That assumption is the whole story. Entitlement is often hidden beneath friendliness. And once you see entitlement, you stop negotiating with every emotional performance. You stop chasing closure from people who needed your confusion more than your companionship. You stop mistaking access for intimacy, attention for care, familiarity for safety. That doesn't make you cold. It makes you accurate about what you lived through. And accuracy is powerful because manipulators survive inside the fog of your self-doubt. Once the fog lifts, their tactics look smaller, older, and less convincing. You also stop asking the wrong question. You stop asking, was I too harsh? The better question is, why did basic respect create such a strong reaction? Because healthy people may not love your limit, but they can handle reality. Users cannot. Limits expose what they were taking and what you were tolerating. And that exposure feels like rejection to someone who built comfort on your flexibility. So if a fake friend turns cold, loud, wounded, charming, or strategic after your boundary, do not ask which version is real. They're all real when access is threatened. The sweet version got benefits. The hostile version reveals what those benefits meant. And no, not every difficult friend is toxic. Some people are immature, stressed, or messy. But patterns matter. Repeated entitlement, punishment, twisting, and strategic guilt are not accidents. Especially when the pattern strengthens the minute you stop overgiving yourself. That timing tells you everything. The problem was never your personality. It was your availability. So what do you do now? Besides grieving the friendship you thought was real? You simplify. You stop over-explaining. You answer once. You watch behavior, not promises. You protect information. You stop feeding people details they haven't earned the right to hold. You notice who respects a no, who argues with it, and who gossips afterward. And you let those reactions become data, not a verdict on your worth. Sometimes the strongest move is not exposing them publicly. Sometimes it's quietly becoming unavailable. Strategy matters. Not every situation needs confrontation, especially when confrontation just gives them a stage. Some people deserve distance, not debate. Silence, not explanation. Consistency, not one final speech. And if part of you still misses them, that doesn't mean you were wrong. It means you attached real care to a connection that couldn't carry it. Missing them is human. Returning to mistreatment is optional. Those are not the same. You can mourn the good moments without reopening the door to the same harm. You can admit the bond felt real to you without pretending it was mutual. And that honesty is how your power returns quietly, without noise, without revenge. Because the goal is not becoming harder or meaner. The goal is becoming harder to use, harder to guilt, harder to confuse, harder to pull back into old roles, harder to manipulate with fake concern, nostalgia, silence, or convenient victimhood again. And once that happens, fake friends either disappear or finally reveal their real shape. Either way, you win clarity. And clarity is worth more than forced belonging. If this hits something real for you, don't brush it off this time. Think about who became colder only after you stopped being endlessly available. Notice who wanted explanations, not understanding. Notice who wanted access, not friendship. And if one name came up immediately, trust what your body already knows. Drop one line in the comments if you want. I see it now. And if you want more calm power like this, stay close to this channel. You are not losing people by waking up. You are losing permission slips.